Greetings everybody, this is Emily from Up Pages in Ink, and today I will be doing my graphic novel book year in review video for you guys. There's one video on a list that I have written down over here there's one book that is not on this list because I didn't think about it until I was collecting the books that I actually have that are on this list. And I was like, that counts, I could talk about that one. So I'll start with that one so you know what I'm talking about. But before I do, I'm going to quickly review what this is. If you haven't seen any of my other videos prior to this one, what I am doing is I am breaking down the last week of December into like a book year in review kind of thing, where I break down the books over this year into categories and kind of talk about them a little bit for you guys. So I've already done dystopian, science fiction, and yesterday I did horror thriller. Today is graphic novels, as I said. So to start it all off, I'm going to start with that book that I said kind of counts, and that's the Infernal Devices manga graphic novel version of the book. Because, I mean, I counted Legend. Legend's a comic graphic novel version of it, but, let me just... Yeah, artwork. Woo! I read this as a part of the Infernal Devices read-along I did back in March, and I forgot that I had read it as a part of that, so I'm adding it to that list now. Okay, next I have a book that I read for school, because I was in a contemporary literature class back in, like, January. So this was one of the books that we had to read, and I really enjoyed it, and it's one of the ones that I actually have kept from my class, and I just realized that my list is actually scrolled down a little. Okay, and that's Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. It is a story about a girl growing up, I believe, in Iran. Yeah, during the Islamic Revolution, and kind of how Iran changes and how people's viewpoints were, and the different things that happened at the time that occurred to her and her family. And it's actually really good. There are, awful parts, there are funny parts, there are parts that are pretty relatable, even if you weren't, in that time. So if you're interested in some kind of, I don't really want to call it history stuff, but it's like a graphic autobiography in a way. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, Persepolis is definitely the thing for you. It's really interesting. This is like the first part of it. I don't know how many parts there is. I've only had to read the one. I may get to the other one. There's another one at the library that I've seen, and I can't think of the name now. I want to say it's something like Chicken and Dumplings or Chicken Dumplings or something. I feel like it has to do with dumplings. But there's another one like that. But it's really good, and I do recommend it. Then the other one that I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to go with my list right now because I only have 3 of the graphic novels that I actually talk about. So I'm just going to do the ones I have, and then I do the ones I don't have. So the next one is In Real Life, by, hold on, his name is kind of covered, by Cory Doctorow, and the art is by Jen Wang, and I knew I was doing Read Women December, but I had kind of not really forgot. I don't know what exactly happened. It was just kind of like, I guess I picked it up. I'm like, oh, I'll just read this real quick, because I'm trying to read more graphic novels. I'm trying to kind of get into that world. So I was like, oh yeah, this looks nice, I'll pick it up. And it's about a strong female character. And then I realized it was written by a male author, and I was like, shoot. But the illustrator's a woman, so I was like, well, that kind of counts. I'm supporting, women illustrators. That's good. This was actually a really good story. It's about a girl who has like a programming kind of class, I think, like digital design or something like that. Doesn't really ever say. But they have a speaker come in who's a part of this MMORPG, or a massive multiplayer online role-playing game, called Course Gold. And she has a guild that's just women, or just female gamers. So she joins this world, and her mom's just kind of like, oh, I don't know. And she's saying how it's pretty much like a sport for her, and it'd just be a good chance to do something on a team. And her mom's like, okay, sure. And she meets this kid who I believe is in China, and plays, I think, as a part of work. And she originally is killing what is known as gold farmers. She starts to kill them because somebody tells her, this is cheating, and she gets money from killing gold farmers. So she does this, and she makes a friend with one of them, and realizes that the conditions where he lives, like the working conditions, are terrible, and starts to try to help him to change things, and it kind of comes crashing down on them, and she does what she can to help. So it's a really good story that kind of shows that you don't always know who's going to be behind the screen, but it also kind of shows that you can make friends anywhere, and you can also change something just with encouragement from somebody else, and a bunch of other stuff. But it was a really good read. I would definitely recommend it, and the art is beautiful. Like, look at this freaking bird. Look at this artwork. It's fantastic. It's great artwork. Good work, Jen Wang. It's beautiful. Alright, and then next I have The Good Neighbors by Holly Black, and one other person that I didn't write down, so I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry. And that story is about a girl whose mother goes missing, and she slowly realizes, well, I think she knows from the beginning, but I feel like it's kind of also an awakening kind of thing. I don't remember, it's been a while, but I think she doesn't know this for a little bit, and that's that she's part fairy. And the good neighbors are like the fairies, and there's like this big thing to do about them. I don't remember it much else than she's trying to find her mom. And her mom eventually comes back and starts to explain things to her, but that's all I really remember. The artwork was beautiful. The story was kind of dark, which is good in my opinion. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. I've heard Holly Black's stuff's really good, and I've also read The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, and one other book that I will talk about in the future because it's an urban/paranormal fantasy kind of thing. Next I have The Sleeper and the Spindle by Neil Gaiman and one other person that's names escapes me, which is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, only the prince that is supposed to go and rescue the sleeping princess is actually a princess who is engaged to be married, and she goes with the help of some dwarves to save the sleeping princess. And the artwork's really pretty, and the story's actually kind of dark, but it's still really good. And there's like a plot twist that you're not really expecting when you read it. And so I definitely recommend that. I'm not entirely sure, because I think it's kind of supposed to be like a bedtime story for kids, but it's a little dark, so if you're thinking about it, be cautious. Read it first. Then the next one I have to talk about is Lumberjanes, which is written by a bunch of people that I haven't written down their names for, but it is awesome. It's kind of like Boy Scout Camp meets Female Scouts meets Paranormal Activity. And I don't mean the movie, I mean like there are supernatural things living in the forest around their camp. And it's this group of girls at camp, and they kind of go exploring and realize all this weird stuff is just right outside their camp. And it's so cool, and the characters are so awesome, and I would definitely recommend it. Then the next one I have to talk about is The Lost Boy, which is about a boy who moves into the house of a family whose son had gone missing like years before, and he finds this like tape recorder, and he listens to the stuff that this boy records, and he finds himself like pulled into this world that the lost boy had gotten lost in, and ends up finding him, and he hasn't like aged a day, and it was really dark, and the art's pretty cool. It's not very pretty. It's not in real life pretty. It's pretty much black and white and gray. But it's really detailed, and the story's really dark and interesting. And then next I have Anya's Ghost, which is about a girl who accidentally falls into like this pit and comes across these bones of a ghost named Emily. And the ghost actually puts one of her bones into the girl's bag, and who's Anya, and starts to follow her around and kind of lives through Anya for a little bit, and then kind of starts to not really become her, but she kind of starts to materialize in a way. And it kind of freaks Anya out, and I'm pretty sure it'd freak anybody out, really, if a ghost was kind of starting to take over your life. And I think at one point she actually traps Anya down that hole, but I don't remember for sure. So the artwork on that is really cool. It's really good as well. The story's pretty interesting, and so if you want to check that out, go right ahead. I know this isn't very detailed, but without really showing you like the artwork and telling you a little bit about the plot, and that I like the plot, there's not really a whole lot to talk about, because it's not a novel. I mean, it's a graphic novel, but it's not like a novel, like, book. Because graphic novels, the stories in them are usually pretty short, because it's largely picture. You get a lot of pictures out of them. Compared to a novel where it's mostly in your head, and a lot of the story is like description. So it cuts down on a lot of words, and then there's less that actually happens in them, because a lot of the work goes toward the artwork. So it's much, my descriptions and discussions on these are much shorter than normal. I have two more to talk about. The first one is the graphic novel version of Legend by Marie Lu. I found it at the library, I picked it up, I'm like, I loved Legend, let's see what this is. And it was good, but it left out a lot of really key parts of this. Well, not the really key parts. It had the gist of it, but there was a lot that I felt was missing, and some things that kind of explain things that weren't there. And I'm like, if you haven't read the book, you probably would be really confused. Excuse me, sorry. But the artwork was really good, and it was definitely close to how I had them pictured in my head, and having the world kind of put into an actual picture definitely made it all that much better, because I finally had a picture to go with what was in my brain when I was reading, and it was really cool. Then the last one I have is Adventure Time, the flip side, which is obviously about Adventure Time. If you don't know what Adventure Time is, it is a cartoon that was on Cartoon Network for a while about a kind of like a post-apocalyptic world, which is kind of downplayed to be more childish, but at the same time it's also really dark. And it follows the last human, known as Finn, and his best friend, who is this magical shape-shifting dog named Jake, and their adventures to be heroes. And in Flipside, they go to this like bulletin board that's covered in different like missions for heroes to go on, and they pick one from the back of the board, which they realize they probably shouldn't have done, because it's explained to them that they have to do the mission backwards. So the mission was to save this princess from, or it was Painting Princess from Monkey King, and in reality they had to get Monkey King to capture Princess Painting, but he didn't want to, and that was the problem that they had to solve in the book. And if they didn't do it fast enough, things kind of started to get all topsy-turvy and flippy. And it was really interesting, because I really like Adventure Time, and I haven't watched it in a while, and I haven't read any of the other graphic novels, but I really enjoyed it because I love Adventure Time. And the story was really interesting, especially with all the flipping that gets done eventually. You kind of see how things kind of get put on the flip side, and it's really interesting to me. So that is the last graphic novel that I have to talk about. I do want to make an honorable mention, hopefully you can hear me, make an honorable mention out of one of the graphic novels that I actually have on my bookshelf that I didn't read this year, but I have read before. And I want to recommend to you guys, if I can find it. Where did I put it? I know it's on my bookshelf. Oh, it's right here. Me. Excuse me, Frostbeard. Frostbeard. My magazine's are in the way. Alright, so it's Amulet by Kazu Kibuishi. Kibuishi. Sorry. But it's this book about a sister and brother whose grandfather, I believe, maybe their great-grandfather, I don't remember which one, they move into his house, and the main character's name is Emily, and they find this amulet which kind of becomes like the doorway to this hidden, like, not civilization, but it's like a hidden world pretty much, full of monsters that kind of not necessarily lies beneath the house, but I guess lies beneath the world, and like the amulet is the doorway to it. So their mother gets taken. So the whole story is, or at least in this one, is them traveling through this world. They actually get to meet their grandfather, or a great-grandfather, and tries to save their mom. So, just thought I'd recommend this one. I bought it from like the Scholastic Book Fair a while ago, and I liked it so much that I kept it. I haven't actually gone down and hunted the other books. I probably should, but it's a really good read. The artwork's really pretty, and it's really kind of dark. So if you like dark, twisted, magical, worldy graphic novels, then this one is definitely something you should read. So that is it. I know I say a lot, and I'm sorry. Enjoy whatever is left of your day. Here it is just after 8:30 at night, or in the evening. So it's pretty late here. Most people are probably either awake, like really early in the morning, or asleep, or are like awake and it's like at the most in America, or at the least in America, like the earliest it would be right now is 5:30. So whenever you see this, have a good rest of the day. If it's already tomorrow, have a good day tomorrow, and I will see you guys tomorrow for my urban/paranormal fantasy books, or year in books review. And I will see you then. Goodbye.